Kwa mujibu wa ripoti mpya ya Umoja wa Mataifa, haki za wanawake na wasichana zinakabiliwa na vitisho vinavyokuwa visivyo na kifani duniani kote, kutoka viwango vya juu vya ubaguzi hadi ulinzi dhaifu wa kisheria na ufadhili mdogo kwa programu na taasisi zinazounga mkono na kulinda wanawake. Ripoti ya hivi punde ya Umoja wa Mataifa ya wanawake, haki za wanawake katika mapito ya miaka 30 baada ya Beijing, iliyochapishwa kabla ya siku ya 50 ya kimataifa ya wanawake ya Umoja wa Mataifa tarehe 8 Machi, inaonyesha kuwa mwaka 2024 karibu robo ya serikali duniani kote ziliripoti msukosuko wa haki za wanawake. Akihutubia wanahabari, Sarah Hendrick, mkurugenzi wa idara ya sera ya Umoja wa Mataifa ya wanawake, mpango na kitengo cha serikali za kiserikali, anasema,
We know that this is indeed a pivotal year, marking 30 years since the adoption of the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action. That bold, that groundbreaking blueprint that was revolutionary and confirmed that women's rights are human rights. The Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action articulates a vision for a world based on the redistribution of power, where gender equality is recognized as foundational to peace, foundational to security, and to development for all. It received unprecedented consensus, and so is the most comprehensive and widely endorsed framework to this day on gender equality. And this year's Commission will review progress made by governments across the world on the implementation of the Beijing platform, with thousands of participants from governments, from civil society organizations, from experts and activists right across the world coming together to discuss actions, to look at strategies, but also importantly to look at investment needed for gender equality. These are choices, colleagues, that will determine the course of history for all women and girls everywhere. We are excited to build on this year's momentum with tomorrow's commemoration of the International Women's Day. This will feature, of course, the Secretary General, our own UN Women Executive Director, and key activists from across the world for women's rights. It is, of course, but one celebration right around the globe. For International Women's Day is, in fact, actually a day that is celebrated everywhere and mobilizes women right around the world to celebrate the achievements of women in all walks of life. And, of course, to also raise their voices to demand further and faster change. For now, today, we have the honor of bringing to you the launch of UN Women's latest report, which is called Women's Rights in Review, 30 Years After Beijing. And here, UN member states have agreed to review the progress on the implementation of the Beijing Platform for Action. And they are invited to submit reports to UN Women, and then we, on behalf of the Secretary General, compile this into an world stands. Global stock take on the status of gender equality and on the status of women and girls right across the world. 159 member states answered that call, which reflects, I think, the enduring relevance. It is really a clear testament to the continued relevance, the continued power of the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action, and also reflects its consensus agenda. So this report provides an assessment of progress. It also, of course, looks at gaps, and it looks at challenges. Challenges for gender equality and women's rights over the past 5 years, and it outlines a forward-looking action agenda, what we call the Beijing Plus 30 action agenda, that we see as imperative to accelerate change, also in service of the advancement of the 2030 agenda. Fundamentally, what it shows us is that the good news story is that the world today is actually more equal for women and girls than ever before. And that tells us that progress is in fact possible. And yet the report will also show, with its data and evidence, that this progress has been too slow, too fragile, too uneven, and most importantly, that this progress is not guaranteed. So I'm now going to hand over to UN Women's Chief of Research and Data, Papa Sek. He's going to take us through some of the rich data in this report